Hi, this is Joe Chambers, and welcome to Musicians Hall of Fame Backstage Answering Series. This is where we're going to answer the questions that you guys sent in. I appreciate it a lot. I didn't know if we were going to get one question or 10 or whatever, but we got a lot, and so we really appreciate it. And so some of them I've seen because they were sent to the comment section, which I get. And if you're wondering, I think everybody pretty much knows, I try to read all of them, even from the trolls. Okay, so for those of you who asked, where's my neck? It's right here. Okay, that's why I didn't wear a collar. I got a neck. Okay, so, and since I can't really read without glasses on, I brought my daughter, Britt. This is Britt Chambers Hawker. Britt, you want to say something?
Hey, Dad.
Hey, Britt. And so Britt's going to read the questions, and I'm going to try to answer them. Like I said, most of these I haven't seen because I don't like to, to come across like we are, fake. So we're going to answer. I'm going to try to answer it off the top of my head the best that I can, honestly. And I hope I don't bore you to death. But I will answer it in depth and as honest as I can be. So, Britt, but you know what? Before we get going, are we getting some echo in here, Alex?
No, I'm just saying, you want to talk about where we are?
Yeah.
Well, we're in the Jimi Hendrix exhibit room.
The best.
And so hopefully, some of you guys, we had to kind of rearrange it to bring the booth in here. Normally where I'm sitting, Mitch Mitchell's drum set is sitting, but we've moved it right over here. You'll probably catch it on Brittany's camera, maybe, I'm not sure. But anyway, this is, for those that don't know, Hendrix lived here in the early to mid-'60s. This is where Hendrix said he learned to play guitar, was Nashville. He lived at Joyce's House of Glamour, which is about 2 miles from here. He and Billy Cox, they were in Fort Campbell, Kentucky together in the 101st Airborne. When they got out of the Army, they came here and moved over on Jefferson Street and used to walk right by the museum going to Printer's Alley. And you will see over Brittany's shoulder, you'll see a women's bathroom door. That is the actual door. We actually went in and got the stage that he played on and took it out of the Jolly Roger nightclub, dinner club, and reconstructed it over here. This is not a replica or anything. It's the actual stage, the actual walls, and everything that was in the club. We had them removed and put them back together here. So you get to actually see the stage that he really learned how to play on. And the drums, Mitch's drums here he bought those with the money he made from playing at Monterey Pop Festival. He came over here. His wife told me. I knew Mitch. He lived here in Nashville in the mid-'90s. And anyway, but his wife told me when I bought these drums that they were his favorite drums. He used them on the second and third album. So when you hear All Along the Watchtower and Crosstown Traffic, these are the drums you're hearing. If you want to see them, you can check out Miami Pop Festival, Hollywood Bowl. I think it's called the Seville or something theater in London. The week that Sgt. Pepper came out, that some of the Beatles were in the audience, and the Experience played Sgt. Pepper for them, and they worked it up right before the concert, I understood. But anyway, that's it. Right behind me here is one of Jimmy's guitars. So. But I tell you what, before we do this, Alex, walk over here for a second. And I tell you what, if you want to, just sit right next to Brittany real quick. This is Alex Hawker. Alex is from Australia. Alex stole my daughter from me and married her. And they have our first grandkid is Sterling Hawker, and he's great. And actually, I wanted you to see Alex because actually he's the reason that I'm doing this now on YouTube, because I didn't know anything about YouTube. Like I told you, I'm 65, and it was just not something I had ever done before. But I was doing a TV show called Musicians Hall of Fame Backstage. And it was being shown, and it is being shown here locally in Nashville on the CBS affiliate, Channel 5 Plus. It's on their digital channel. And, I just wanted the local people to know about us and tell people about us. But anyway, Alex was noticing that they had started airing the show on their YouTube channel and were getting a lot of views on it. And so he's the one that said, why don't you start putting it on your own channel? And I'm like, we got a channel? I forgot we had one, and we have for a long time. We just never really had a whole lot of action with it. But anyway, Alex, started putting these shows on there, and you guys, thankfully, thank you very much, started watching them, and then Alex started saying, why don't we, make them into short, make short clips out of them. Not everybody has a half hour to kill, and they might have 12 or 13 minutes to watch something that's just something that catches their eye. So he started, going through them and taking stories that he liked out and putting a catchy title to them that related to what that clip was about, and those really took off, So y'all are like me, you have a short attention span for the most part. So anyway, Alex, you can leave now. Okay, I just wanted you to see Alex, and if you like this, he's the reason that we're doing this. So, okay, Britt, ask me something.
Okay. All right. So.
By the way, if you've ever been to one of our award shows, Brittany is the one that hands out the awards, the trophies, and so forth on our Musicians Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. And so my assistant, Victoria, was going to do it, but as y'all know, the reason we're doing this is because of this corona thing. And so that's why we're not 6 feet apart, because we rode together down here. And, when she comes to our house, she brings the baby. So obviously we don't, we have been quarantining, though. We really have seriously done it. And I hope y'all do too. And I really hope that everybody pays attention to it because it is serious. And people like me especially are more susceptible to it. And a lot of you guys and gals that watch this are kind of in my age group, maybe a little younger, maybe a little older. And so just be careful. Hopefully we're going to get the museum happening soon, and everything will get back to normal. So go, Britt.
Did you have a question that you knew about that someone already asked you about April?
There was a question that came in on the, golly, I don't want to ask it without looking their name up. But I'll try to look it up before we get through, so I'll say your name. But I had a question. Well, we're going to open by April 21st. I don't know. I wish I did. The president seems to think that we might be able to get things going. I hope that we can. But first and foremost, the most important thing is all of our safety. And I'll put it like this. If we can open up April the 5th, we'll open up, okay? It's just, I don't know. But thank you for the question. And okay, Britt.
All right. So, and kind of related to that, you had a few questions about the tornado. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say the names as best as I can. Okay. Jason Z, Tom Jones, Bob Adams Jr., Clayton K. How did the museum survive the tornadoes, and how is the general situation there since that horrible day?
Well, I answered some of you guys about this that were nice enough to ask, and thank you all very, very much for being concerned. The museum, I'll put like, well, 1998, we had a bad tornado go. If you watch the Titans football here, it hit the stadium while they were under construction. It was across the street from us. Channel 5, actually this Channel 5 that our show was on, it was like sucking the doors open in the back of that building. And it came right through the middle of downtown. It was terrible. I mean, it actually hit downtown. Downtown, there wasn't hardly a building that had all the windows in it in Nashville in '98. If it was now, with all the building that we've had going on since then, I can't even imagine what it would have been like. But we were spared again. In '98, it did suck some windows out of the municipal auditorium, where we're located. But this time it was about 2 blocks away instead of 1 block. And it went through a very historic part of town, through Germantown. And a lot of brand new apartments, and it was terrible. I mean, I'm just telling you, it's whatever you've seen on TV, it's worse, you know. And then it went past Nashville and hit some of the more rural areas where they didn't have the warning that they had here. And a lot of people got killed, a lot of young children it was just terrible. So to answer the question, the museum didn't skip a beat as far as the tornado goes. We're very, very blessed, very lucky.
It was close, right?
Very close.
Yeah, all right. So that was nice for people to care. A lot of people reached out to you that day. All right, so Patrick B., Barry F., and Fuzzman. They have a similar question. How you got started in music, what you play, what you produced, okay? And then a full background on your musical career would be great. I'm sorry I don't know more about you, but would enjoy that immensely. Would you do a documentary about your experiences?
Wow. Well, don't feel sorry about knowing about me, because nobody does. Because I am a flea on an elephant butt, if you know what I'm saying, in the music business. I had my 15 seconds a little bit, you know, as far as...
So what did you play, and what have you produced, and how did you even get started doing those two things?
Like many of y'all out there, I too saw the Ed Sullivan Show. But even before the Ed Sullivan Show, my first memory was Elvis. And I think the first song, anything I ever sang, which I don't sing, was Hound Dog on my grandparents' front porch for my uncles down in South Georgia. And they laughed and carried on, and I thought, well, this is fun. You know, even as a 5-year-old, I think it was probably what I was. And then, just to be totally honest about it, and of course, I love the Beach Boys. The first record I bought was, me and my brother went in, we both had 50 cents, and we bought Do You Want to Dance by the Beach Boys. And then my first album was How the West Was Won soundtrack, because I had a real bad crush on Carol Baker. And in the 5th grade, we had a talent contest. I had this single, I Don't Want to Spoil the Party, in 8 days a week, I think. And so me and 3 other guys were pretending to be the Beatles, lip syncing. And so when we got through, I remember 3 little girls backed me into the Georgia flag and was like, play something. And I'm like, I don't know how to play. Come on, Joe, play something. And I really liked the attention from the girls. And so the next day I came in and I had learned What I Say by Ray Charles. And then Kicks by Paul Revere and the Raiders. And so that was it. I was hooked on both. I always loved music. When I found out that girls liked you if you played, that was all it took. And so I was done. And so that continued until I started a band in high school in 1969. We played our first job, September 6, 1969. And, like most of us, I was thinking, okay, you're going to graduate high school, and either you're going to go to college or you go to Vietnam. And so the only way in Columbus, Georgia, that you could get any recognition was if you won the JC's sponsored Battle of the Bands. That was my goal. I just wanted to win that. Without making this go on into infinity, we ended up, my senior year, winning the Battle of the Bands of Columbus. Then we ended up winning the Nationals. Came up the following September, and we won first place in the Nationals. So at that point, our keyboard player's uncle managed a country singer, ex-pop singer named Conway Twitty. Conway was good friends with Dick Clark, so we went to Oklahoma City. We cut a demo tape. Conway sent it to Dick. Dick picked one of the songs that I had written the lyrics to and said, "This is the best song." That was what gave me the validation to write songs. If I figured if Dick Clark thought that I wrote a good song. And so trying to be a rock star, as I tell people, 120 pounds ago. And then came to Nashville to see Conway again. And I was going down Music Row, and I saw CBS Records, and CBS Records was the label that had Chicago and Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and that was who I wanted to be. That's who our band wanted to be. We had a horn section. And I walked in the front door, and by happenstance, the president of the label, Billy Sherrill, was sitting in the lobby. Now, what's even weirder is that Billy was one of our ex-trumpet players, Steve Lott's third cousin. And Steve had told us he wasn't in the band any longer, but he said, I have a cousin, third cousin, I've never met him, but he lives in Nashville, and he's what they call a record producer, whatever that meant. And country was like, it meant nothing to us. We didn't care about country. We never listened to it. But anyway, Billy was sitting in the lobby listening to me tell the secretary, would you listen to this demo tape? We had just cut a tape in Atlanta the night before. And I brought the drummer and the lead singer with me up here to see Conway, and Conway couldn't see us. And so we went driving down, found Music Row, saw CBS. Billy listened to me, and I guess he felt sorry for me. I don't know. But I was turning around, I had the door pulled open. And when I walked in, there was this guy sitting on the couch reading a Billboard magazine. And, you know, being from Georgia, I talked to anybody. So I said, hey, how you doing? And he was like, you know. And so I had no idea who that was. You know, I thought he was somebody like another goon like me trying to meet somebody. And it ended up, it was the president of the record label. And so I had the door open, and the two guys I brought with me, little Billy, the drummer, and Jimmy, the lead singer, said, hey, what was Steve's third cousin that lives up here somewhere? And he goes, one of them said, I think his name's Billy Sherrill. Well, the guy sitting on the couch dropped the billboard in his lap. He says, I'm Billy Sherrill. That was a week later, I'm recording in Columbia A where Bob Dylan recorded. And Billy and I became extremely close friends. Unfortunately, I was the pallbearer at his funeral. I think it was 2015. Billy was voted the BMI Songwriter of the Century here in Nashville. He found Tammy Wynette. He wrote Stand By Your Man. He produced Stand By Your Man. He produced He Stopped Loving Her Today. He put George and Tammy together. He produced, and he wrote The Most Beautiful Girl in the World. He produced it on Charlie Rich, Behind Closed Doors. He produced Johnny Paycheck, Take This Job and Shove It. So anyway, you know, after the band, that demo session fizzled out. We almost signed with Columbia. We almost got what they call a singles deal, which means you can cut 145, and if that does good, then you do another one or whatever. And they already had Chicago. They already had Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and we were not either one of those two bands. And I've always said we could have been maybe a Buckingham's kind of band, if you remember them, Kind of a Drag was the name of their song, the big one. And if we'd have had professional songwriters, I at the time was not that great of a songwriter. And but anyway, you know, when that finally fizzled out, I'm like, you know, I don't want to be in a band anymore, but I don't want to get out of music. And so I learned that you could be a songwriter here in Nashville if you listen to country music. So I started listening to country music. I told you this is going to be boring, okay? I hope you hadn't. I think I hear the computer's cutting off as I'm talking. I hope not.
I think it's interesting.
Well, you're paid to think that. And so anyway, I thought, well, I'll take a listen to country. I ended up, I loved George Jones, and Billy happened to produce George Jones and Johnny Paycheck. And so my first song recorded was in 1978 on Johnny Paycheck on the follow-up album called Armed and Crazy. And I had a song on there. My first cut was called Look What the Dog Drug In. And then I had a song cut on George called Good Ones and Bad Ones. And that was it just progressed. And so I ended up signing with Billy's publishing company. It was called Galleon. It was partners with Al Gallico and Billy Sherrill. And then I ended up working at CBS, and I got to produce some records. Actually, one of the most fun things was I was sent down to not Dallas, but Fort Worth to hear. When Alabama hit, every record label wanted to have a band. In Nashville, it was like you can't have a country band like the Beatles. It has to be like Conway Twitty and the Twitty Birds. You have to have a lead singer with a backup band. Alabama changed all that, and which, by the way, we inducted Alabama this past October, and so every record label was signing bands, and it was the end thing. It went from nothing to everything. Everybody wanted a crossover record, and so they sent me down to hear this band in Fort Worth. And while I was down there, I saw David Clayton Thomas, formerly of Blood, Sweat, and Tears, playing at Billy Bob's. So I went in, after I went to hear the band I went to hear, and I went backstage and I met David, and I said, why don't we do a Kenny Rogers thing? Why don't we do you sideways, like, Kenny went from pop to country. Why don't we take you from rock to country? And so we did some I did get a record deal for him on Columbia, but it didn't work. But it was a whole lot of fun for me, and David's a great guy, one of the greatest singers ever. I ended up I kept on writing, and I had songs recorded by Randy Travis, Ricky Van Shelton, Conway Twitty, George Jones, Tammy Wynette, Johnny Paycheck, Mel McDaniel, Gene Watson. I can't remember, but anyway, that's the long story longer. Sorry about that. Is that enough? Was that everything? I played guitar. I played lead guitar. I was a blues, rock and roll guitar player that wrote really country lyrics.
And you played in a band for a while as well.
Yeah, I played in a band from, until I married your mother,
What songs were hits?
There was a guy named Ricky Van Shelton. I wrote his first #1 record called Somebody Lied. Conway Twitty cut it before he did. I had another big hit with Ricky. Alabama kept me from having a #1 record because they had their kind of like comeback record with a song called Jukebox in the Corner of My Mind. And I had a song called I Meant Every Word He Said. That was a #2 song for 2 weeks instead of being #1. But it was top 10 record of the year in Jukebox Watton. So, but I love Alabama. Hey, we're going to take a break real quick, and when we come back, we'll carry on with this foolishness.